Okay, today we're starting your first book lesson. The order of operations, those aren't in your book, or at least in the first chapter much, so we did that special. But today we have chapter 1, lesson 1, that's what that means, 1-1, variables and exponents. So fill out your table of contents and the date. Please make sure you're filling these note sheets out. I do collect them at the end of the chapter before the test, and you will get credit for them. So here we go. This just gives this slide gives an overview of the chapter. We did order of operations, which, like I said, is not in the chapter but is needed. Today we're doing expressions in integer, or we're doing variables and expressions. And then we'll move on to algebraic expressions. You see it all here, but you can take a little moment and look and just kind of peruse to see what else is in this chapter. As always, please fill out on your worksheet or note sheet, fill out the objective. You will be able to evaluate algebraic expressions. And evaluate is very similar to the word simplify. So you're going to work out the algebraic expression and get an answer. All right, let's fill in our vocabulary and fill in the blanks, and make sure that you hold on to this because some of these questions will be on the test. So a variable is a letter that represents a number. It's usually lowercase, so we know A, we've seen X a lot. We've seen Y. Variable or letters that do not make very good variables would be T, because it looks like a plus sign, and O. Those are not good letters to be variables, so we try not to use those. Now we move on to coefficient. That is a number that multiplies the variable. So if I had 8x, the 8 would be the coefficient. An algebraic expression has one or more variables. So algebraic means that it contains a variable. So we'll go back to, let's say, 6y. So the 6 is the coefficient. 6y is an algebraic expression because it's 6 multiplying to the y, and it contains a variable. We can make it longer. We could say 6y plus 3. Because it contains a variable in the expression, then it's algebraic. A constant is a term with no variables. So if I were to write 8, that's a constant. 23, -2. Basically, it's a number, and there's no variable with it, so that's the constant. And I'll explain later this year why we call it a constant and why it makes sense that it's called a constant. And lastly, evaluate. Evaluate means you substitute each variable with a number and then you solve it. So it's a lot like our order of operations. That's why we needed order of operations, because we're going to take a number of value and put it in the place of where a variable was, where a letter was, and then we're going to find the answer. So here we go. We have x plus 5, and it says evaluate for x equals 11. So what we want to do is take the 11 and we're going to put it where the x was. So we'll do x plus 5. And the 11 will substitute in, kind of like in basketball when you substitute in for another player, you take his or her spot. Substitute in. And so now we need to evaluate it and simplify it. So give an answer. 11 plus 5 is 16. Here we have 2, and it's next to the a, so remember that means multiply. So 2 times 4. And what I want you to do is put a parentheses here, because you're going to hear me say this a lot. When a variable is like a parentheses in a way, it's like a bowl or something that you can put something into. And in this case, we're going to put a 4 in that place where the A was. We're going to substitute it in. So later on, trust me, if you get in the habit of thinking that a variable is like a parentheses, it's not necessarily like a parentheses that you do it first. It doesn't mean that, but it means that it's holding a spot and you're going to put something into that spot. It will help you later this year and next year when we put big things in there, not just the 4. We'll put in a lot of things. So 2 times 4, and then we finish and we say plus 3. So do order of operations to solve this, and you get 11. Okay, our next one. We have 4, and then we have 3 plus. Now, I'm going to do a double. Well, I don't need to do a parentheses here because I'm going to substitute the 2 where the n is. I'm going to do the 2 where the n was. And then I put the parentheses and then bring the minus 2 down. So order of operations says to do the parentheses first, and I get a 5. And then I have 4, and this means to multiply. 4 times 5 minus 2. So we have 20 minus 2 is 18. So the answer to that one is 18. Now we have 2 variables that we need to substitute for. So we have the 2 is going to go in where the x is, and the 1 will go where the y is. All right, so let's do that. As you can see, I took the 2 and put it where the x is, and I took the 1 and put it where the y is. So order of operations, 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. We add last. The last thing we do many times is add. 8 plus 3 is 11. All right? Remember, feel free to pause or rewind if you need to, if I'm going too fast. Our next problem has 2 variables also, so we're going to take the 3 and substitute it and put it where the r is. And we're going to take the 5 and we're going to put that where the p is. Now we're going to solve it. So order of operations, 9 times 3 is 27. 2 times 5 is 10. And bring the minus down. 27 minus 10 is 17. Okay, so again, you know what? It's like the same thing we've been doing all week, except now we're substituting a value in where the variable was. Okay, more examples. And with these examples, the difference is we're going to put some decimals in, and they'll be harder numbers now. So 2 variables, p equals 12. So we're going to put the 12 where the p is. And then we're going to put the 6.5 where the q is. So I showed that what it looks like here. And remember, I did say a variable is like a bowl, an empty bowl that you can put a number into or put something into. And so that's why we have parentheses showing that we put the 12 in and we put the 6.5 in the place of that variable. And so now we multiply 2.5 times 12, we get 30. And then we do 4 times 6.5 and we get 26. Lastly, we subtract and we get 4. All right, our next question, we have 2 variables again, and the 4 will go where the y is, and the 1.5 will go where the x is. So after I write it, then I evaluate it. Now I notice here I forgot to write my minus 5. I'm going to catch that before you guys get a mint from me on that one. So I'm going to do parentheses first, and I'm going to get 4.5 in the parentheses, and I'll bring that down, and this now it means to times, and then I'll bring down my minus 5. So 4 times 4.5 is 18, and 18 minus 5 equals 13. So the answer to this one is 13. Okay, last one on this slide. The 3 will go where the t is, and the 0 will go where the y is, and the 7 will go where the x is. Okay, notice I put parentheses by them so that you knew that you're supposed to multiply them all together. And hopefully you guys did not get the calculator on this one and didn't do, hopefully you did 0 work. Oh, that's a joke. Hopefully you did 0 work because the answer is 0. This 0, you don't have to do anything else. The answer is 0. All right, make sure you're keeping up with your notes, and we have one more to go. Lastly, we have a word question. You're going to have this in your homework. So we have tickets to a movie cost $4 for students and $6 for adults. If S, that's our variable, is the number of students, so S will stand for the number of students, makes sense, and A is the number of adults, then 4S plus 6A can be used to find the cost of the tickets. Find the cost of the tickets for 3 students and 2 adults. You notice I try and color code things. It helps the brain remember things easier and see things easier. So I copied the expression out using colors. So the red S will stand for students, and they cost $4 to get in. And the green A will stand for adults. They have to pay $6 to get in. So I want you to look at the 3 and the 2 and think to yourself, where does the 3 go and where does the 2 go? The 3 is students, so it's going to go where underneath the S for students, and the 2 is adults. The 2 is going to go right here. So now we're going to set up the problem and answer it and make sure we label. So I have 4 times 3 is 12, and I have 6 times 2 is also 12. So I add those together and I get 24, and I need to label. Please label word problems. $24. It costs $24 for those people to go to the movies. So hopefully it went well. Please do your 4 practice problems, and I'll see you in class next time we have class.